I've pressed record, so we should now be recording. I'll share my screen again. Okay, so once again, you should see that big Western Sydney W in the middle of the screen. If you start seeing me, please let me know, okay? Because I want you guys to. So it's still the same course. Just for today, I hope to remind you of some of the aims of the course and the aims of this semester in context with regards to the overall aims of the course. We'll go through some of the content, remind you of some of the resources. Very briefly, I want to review just a couple of the questions from exams at the end of last semester. I've given you guys some feedback. I hope to provide more feedback when you come into the on-campus seminar as well, so that you guys are clear, with regards to perhaps some of the errors you might have made, or reinforce some of the things you did well. Very briefly about supervision. So, again, the essence of the course is we're wanting to help develop sonographers by a clearly defined method of training skills and professional ability for a high quality ultrasound exam, high quality cardiac ultrasound. We've got to be the best sonographers possible. The reason I've chosen those two slides is we're going to be looking at valvular disease to start with. So those are probably already see that that's a bicuspid aortic valve. And one of the things we'll be reinforcing this semester is that it's important when you're looking at valves so that you can identify morphology. And the Doppler image is a Doppler from the very same patient, and as you can see, there's a increased gradient across the valve. So you want to improve the way that you use all the imaging modalities, 2D and Doppler, so that you can provide doctors with a really good idea of this person's, both the nature of the person's disease and the extent of their disease. With regards to knowledge, sorry, I'm trying to play with my screen. I've blocked myself off. With regards to knowledge, we won't be sort of reinforcing a whole lot of normal cardiac anatomy and physiology, but by looking at cardiovascular disease, hopefully that will help to reinforce some of the normal anatomy and physiology. And you'll be looking further at ultrasound physics, some of the things that, at least one of the things that you'll be covering when you do the physics lectures is artifacts, and they're really important. It's really important to try and understand the nature of those, because artifacts are oftentimes very useful, and Rob will go into that. Skills that no doubt you're coming to appreciate is really important is to operate the ultrasound machine, from adjusting gains and frequency to optimizing scale setting, a whole lot of things. That's again going to be another focus. Image acquisition. So we'll be talking more about the imaging sequence. You guys are starting to develop the kind of is logical sequence that's in keeping with recommendations, so that your images are the kind of quite in the kind of way that sonographers acquire, so that the cardiologists again have appreciation for the degree and the extent of the patient's disease, and professionalism. So we'll be talking about communication. In particular, we'll be looking at reporting. I don't know what your feeling is, but I find that sometimes reporting echocardiograms is one of the more challenging things, because especially if a report's got to be reasonably succinct, it's hard to indicate what you've found. And so some of the, I guess, essential elements of a report, a way a good report should be structured, be discussed, and professional practice. So interacting with patients, sanitation, machine maintenance, and is everyone still following along okay? So same structure as last time, principles and practice. Obviously this time we've got principles 2 and practice 2. So we're going to be building on what we learned last time from, as I was saying, cardiovascular disease, ultrasound physics, practice 2, image acquisition. You guys no doubt are starting to appreciate that clinical training is a really important part of what you're doing. Please, you need to maintain your clinical practice. This table is simply meant to demonstrate or reinforce the fact that if you're at a practice for 3 days a week, and that's roughly 21 hours, you'll have spent 720 hours roughly minimum at a practice, and that should translate into some improved and developed skills. With regards to your logbook, there's a goal that you should be aiming for by the end of this semester. So for this semester, there's a step up in the number of by the end of the year. In the view site, it hasn't changed a great deal. The units and the modules have changed a little bit. Let me just try and do something for a moment. Where are we? So can you see the view site now? Yes. Okay. So yeah, there's the view site. It remains similar. So what you'll no longer see is principles of cardiac sonography 1. You'll see principles of 2, practice of cardiac sonography 2. If you scroll down, you'll appreciate that unit learning outcomes have changed. Okay, so therefore principles 2, practice 2 now. It's really important that you guys access the learning guides. The learning guides are meant to reflect exactly what's, the essential of what's going on. Obviously, a learning guide can't have everything, but the essentials are there in terms of, lectures you're going to have, tutorials you're going to have, dates and things like that. Dates, of course, are subject to change, but as best we can, we try and keep those dates that have been entered in. So there's a learning guide for principles, and there's a learning guide for practice. We'll go through the assessments in a moment, but there's the table with a brief outline of assessments. More about the assessments again goes to the same people as last time. Myself, Rob will be doing the physics, Kenny and Kristen who'll be helping out with the switch back again. to, no, that's not what I want. Sorry, I'll get it. I think, okay, that's the one I'm after. Okay. So I hope you guys can now see a table with the teaching and learning principles of cardiac sonography 2. Okay. If you're struggling to see that, don't worry, it's in the learning guide. But in short, this is a screenshot of the teaching and learning activities named and the dates at which they'll occur. So lecture start. First lecture next week is going to be a physics lecture. So it's Principles of Cardiac Sonography 2. It's about ultrasound equipment performance and limitations. So that'll be made available first thing next Monday morning. Okay. You can see there again the dates for the on-campus seminar, Monday the 26th to Wednesday the 28th. I will, in the next couple of weeks, post an announcement via Views with some more specific details about what to expect. Finalising some of the things in terms of computers and machines and a whole lot of things there, but very soon I'll give you a breakdown. In short, it's going to be similar to last time. It's an afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon start through to 8 o'clock or so. I know from feedback, and it's the same every year, that you prefer to come in the mornings. We're constrained in regards to what we can and what we can't do. If we want a series of days, one after the other, we have to. Sorry, I just can't do anything to change the name. First assessment item, the Principles of Cardiac Sonography 2 occurs in week 7, and that's one of the quizzes. The quizzes will be similar to last time. You access them via Views. They're time limited. There'll be a slightly shorter time that you're able to do them for this time around. 25 minutes in length. Similar kind of scenario, 20 choice questions. There's another quiz towards the end. And then finally, the Principles of Cardiac Sonography 2. The format is the same. Obviously, the content is different. Okay. Look at the learning guide to better understanding of what the content is. Hopefully, you should now be able to see the practice of cardiac sonography 2. Similar thing here. There is one error in the learning guide. So the learning guide actually, in this particular page, doesn't have the assessment item. But if you go back to the assessment summary, you'll be able to see when they happen. In short, the Atlas, which is a similar kind of scenario to first semester, hopefully it's a little bit improved. It will be due in week 8. Practical exam and written exam will happen in week 16. And that's at the beginning of November, okay? Date will be confirmed. That'll obviously be the beginning of November. It'll be in week 16. We're always we always make requests. We have to request dates very early on, but the university's got a lot of things to coordinate, so it won't be until probably halfway through the semester that we'll guarantee the dates for you. But it'll be week 16, and I'll get the dates to you as soon as possible. There's a little more detail about the assessments. So as you can see, similar kind of format, similar kind of weight with regards to the assessment items. You can see a little bit more clearly there the dates and when things are due. This is recorded. These slides will be made available to you, but information obviously is in the learning guide. One really important document that I encourage you strongly to make use of is a document that's available via Views, and it's called the Year 1 Imaging Sequence, okay? And it outlines the kind of sequence that we're trying to help you to work towards developing as, you know, as a sonographer. Now, I understand that at workplaces, things change a little bit, but what we're trying to do is indicate to you quality and comprehensive imaging sequence looks like, and certainly should look like by the end of this year. I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. I want to show you where you can access this on the views page. So if you can see over here on the left-hand side of the page, course guidelines. If you click there, you will see this this tab which says WSU Year 1 Imaging Sequence. Click there, and the roughly 20-page document is available to you. I encourage you strongly to start making reference to that. If at this stage you feel a little bit overwhelmed, as though, you know, this is a little bit too much, don't worry, we're going to be working towards it slowly. We'll go through it all in good detail in the on-campus seminar. Obviously, a document you can't capture, you know, looping images and things like that, but hopefully some idea of what an imaging sequence should comprise or be comprised of. So starting with parasternal images gives you a good indication of where to start, what kind of measurements you should be making, 2D, Doppler, color Doppler, pulse wave Doppler, using all the modalities, moving from parasternal long axis to parasternal short axis views, then an apical imaging sequence, then a subcostal imaging sequence, and a superficial imaging. I'm not going to go through with this length now, but we certainly will spend some time looking at that work closely when you guys are here. In week 6. Swapping around again. Here we go. So in week 6, come to the same place. The outside looks a little bit different now. The hospital next door is nearly finished. So by the time you come, hopefully you won't be having to walk in and out of accident, emergency every time you want to come to the university building. You'll still have access to textbooks via views. I think the links are available now. If they're not available now, they certainly will be by tomorrow. I hope they are. I'll double check that. One of the important things just to read through with regards to the learning guides are the responsibilities. Just, you know, make sure that you keep up to date with by opening the view site often, so that you don't miss dates. That you read the learning guides, because I can't. While I will try to indicate, I can't preempt everything. I congratulate you on the way that you conducted yourselves on campus seminars and during the SE1. I'm very confident that you'll do the same. For those who filled in the feedback on the unit and feedback, thank you very much. That gives us good information. We're always trying to improve. If anything is unclear, please let me know. We will try to use what you have indicated to us to make things better. There's just a table with people who you'll meet again. It'll be me most of the time that you'll be corresponding with, hearing from. And you'll see at the on-campus seminar, Fernando as well. You'll get to hear Rob's voice a lot in the physics lectures. Rob will do another physics tutorial during the on-campus seminar. And if you want to contact Lily, she's the librarian to contact. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Okay. Can I just mention just a couple of things that that became a little bit clear with regards to the principles of cardiac sonography. Now, this is not an electrophysiology course, but one of the questions that was answered least well of all the questions by most students was this short answer question in the Principles of Cardiac Sonography 2. In the Principles of Cardiac Sonography 1 written exam. The question was, clearly describe the precise location of the atrioventricular node and the function of the AV node's refractory period. So, we weren't expecting you a detailed diagram from you, but what we were expecting is you to indicate that one, the AV node is actually in the right atrium. It's in the infraposterior aspect of the right atrium, just near the septal leaflet of the tricuspid valve. Now that's really important because that's related to its function. So the AV node, which is part of the second part of this question, the AV node has what's called a long refractory period. In short, what that means is the AV node is responsible for delaying electrical signals between the atria and the ventricles. It's the one point through which electrical signals pass, which protects the ventricles from rapid rates that occur within the atria. That's a really important thing because if the AV node wasn't there, rhythms like atrial fibrillation would be deadly because the ventricles would be trying to, contract at the kind of rates that occur in atrial fibrillation, and that wouldn't be possible. So anyway, that's something that I just wanted you to reinforce to you guys. Okay. Another one that wasn't answered particularly well, which is from the practice of cardiac sonography written exam, and you were asked to indicate what is shown when you're using spectral Doppler on the vertical and horizontal axes. So the horizontal axis on a spectral display indicates time, okay? Horizontal axis always indicates time. So you needed to say, it indicates time, and oftentimes that's that the scale is millimeters per second. The vertical axis indicates velocity, and its scale is either centimeters per second or meters per second. Both of them can be changed, but that's something you guys need to be clear about. You're asked to provide a diagram of what aliasing looks like in regards to a spectral display. As soon as you see these kind of things, I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but it's really important that you're aware of what's happening. When the spectral display is when the velocity exceeds the Nyquist limit, okay, the signal is displayed incorrectly by the machine. Now, there are important changes that you can do to adjust for that. And this will be reinforced again when Rob talks about aliasing. One of the really important things that you can do is adjust the baseline, for example. You might need to adjust the scale as well, because baseline adjustment doesn't necessarily mean that you'll overcome the aliasing. Furthermore, there are limitations with regards to pulse wave. Sometimes you just cannot sample at a fast enough rate. The Nyquist limit will be exceeded, and you need to switch from pulse wave Doppler to continuous wave Doppler. Another thing with regards to the practice of cardiac sonography exam was, now I know that you guys came into the exam and there were machines that you were using that you weren't familiar with. But it's a really important thing that you get used to adjusting the machine every time you do an exam, from adjusting the depth, to the overall gain, to the TGC, frequency, things like that, because it's all part of developing good imaging skills, just like a good photographer adjusts, variables on a camera. We adjust variables, on our ultrasound machine. Oftentimes, as an examiner, you get a very strong sense of how much work someone has done by simply noticing, whether or not they try and adjust any of the machine settings. Someone who tries to adjust the machine settings, I think, usually does particularly well in the exam, because it shows obviously that they're conscious of that they're mindful that each patient is a little bit different. Parameters are going to need to be changed so that optimal images can be acquired. Another thing with regards to the practical exam is, and a really important thing, is getting used to working with the patient. And what I mean by that is sometimes the imaging window is a little bit difficult, and so simply asking the patient to either roll towards you or roll away from you, asking the patient to inspire or expire, makes a big difference. And that's one of the key simple things that you can do that can go from, that can mean you go from acquiring really poor images to really good ones. And so that was one of the things that, again, we noticed that. Now, I know an exam environment is different and is difficult, but a few of you asked patients to breathe in or breathe out or move towards me or move away. And it's just one of those things that if you're in the habit of doing that, when an exam comes around, you'll do it anyway. Okay. Let me just talk to you briefly about supervision. I will email all the supervisors next week to give them a little bit of a rundown of what to expect in the coming semester. In short, with regards to the practical skills that we're trying to develop, are quantitative measurements of LV systolic and diastolic function, and grading aortic valve and mitral valve stenosis and regurgitation. So I will email all the supervisors next week about that. With regards to supervision, I just suggest that you work with your supervisor as best you possibly can. Accept feedback, ask them for help, work with them so that you've got some strategies to improve. So when you come to the on-campus seminar, if there's something in particular that you didn't quite get, go back and work with them so that you can really refine that skill and get it right. One last thing, it's actually possible, I'm not sure how this happens, but it's actually possible to be enrolled in the course but not enroll in units. So make sure you're enrolled in both Principles of Cardiac Sonography 2 and Practice of Cardiac Sonography 2, and that will make a world of difference for lots of people. Last year, we had someone arrive at the final written exam, and the only way she was allowed to undertake the written exam was by paying $3,000 on the spot to do the exam, because she hadn't enrolled in the unit, and it was post-census date, and that's the university's policy. I couldn't, no matter what I said, made any difference, okay? So I want everyone to avoid that scenario. Enroll early and they'll bill you appropriately. If you get past the census date, it gets tricky, okay? One other thing before I open to questions, if you have any difficulties, if clinical training becomes difficult or something like that, please indicate things to me early, and hopefully then we can go about adjusting things. I can't guarantee anything, but I will try, okay? I'll try and help as best I can. Are there any questions? Everything's fairly straightforward. Yeah, okay, I can see people nodding, see people keen to go. So next week we start lectures, or physics lecture will be available Monday. Please enroll. I will see you 26, 27 and 28 August here at Blacktown. It'll be a similar format as I said to last time. I think the first day, the 26th Monday, will start at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It will start with a physics tutorial from Rob. Again, Kristen and Kenny will be here to help you with lots of things. There'll be the volunteer patients and ultrasound machines here and all that kind of thing. So all the best for the semester ahead. Keep working hard with your clinical supervisors. Nice to see all your smiling faces. I can't see anyone who's fallen asleep, so that's good. Yeah, be in touch and see you all soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.